Part 1. When the divine within is caged by shadows, you are a creator. Not just in theory, but in the deepest, most sacred sense of the word. You were born with a seed of divine intelligence, encoded with the capacity to birth ideas, visions, art, healing, and transformation into the world. And yet, for many of us, that seed remains dormant. Not because it is weak, not because we are lazy or untalented, but because something in us, something old, hidden, and wounded, has wrapped itself around that seed like thorns around a rose. This is the quiet sabotage of the inner demons. The journey begins with a whisper. I'm not ready. I don't have what it takes. Who am I to do this? These thoughts don't come from our true self, they come from the remnants of unhealed pain, inherited shame, and unresolved fear. These are the voices of inner demons, not in some mystical sense, but in the psychological and spiritual patterns that have taken root in our subconscious. They were installed in childhood, watered by trauma, and reinforced by a world that fears authenticity. And now, every time we try to step into creator mode, into the vast, infinite power of divine expression, these voices pull us back. You know you're being blocked when your ideas excite you but never reach the light of day. When you begin but never finish. When your creativity feels more like pressure than pleasure. When procrastination becomes a form of self-protection, not laziness. These are signs. And if we are to reclaim our birthright as creators, we must learn to recognize these signs not as flaws, but as invitations. Invitations to go inward, to confront what is lurking behind the silence. One of the clearest signs your inner demons are blocking creator mode is a chronic fear of being seen. You may tell yourself that you're just private, or that you're waiting for the perfect timing. But beneath that lies a deeper fear that if you are fully seen, you will be judged, rejected, or even punished. This fear often stems from early experiences where your authentic self was not nurtured, or worse, was shamed. So now, even as an adult, you hide your gifts not because you want to, but because a part of you believes visibility equals danger. Can you feel how exhausting that is? Another sign is perfectionism. You may think you're just holding yourself to high standards, but perfectionism is often a mask for unworthiness. If everything must be perfect before it's shared, you'll never share at all. The inner demon of perfectionism whispers, if it's not flawless, you'll be exposed. But the truth is, your flaws are what make your creations real. Rawness is where the divine breathes. Waiting for perfection is a way to avoid the vulnerability that comes with true creation.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Let's talk about comparison. The moment you feel inspired, your inner demons might immediately direct your gaze outward. But look at them. They're better. They've already done it. You're too late. Comparison is a thief of joy. But more importantly, it's a distortion of truth. No one else carries your frequency. No one else has your soul's fingerprint. And yet, if you believe the lie that your uniqueness holds no value, you'll hesitate every time you're called to create. That hesitation is a symptom of inner entrapment. Have you ever felt a sudden wave of fatigue the moment you sit down to create? That's not just physical tiredness. That is resistance. That is your shadow self pulling energy away from creation. Why? Because creating is a spiritual act. It requires you to channel your higher self. And if your lower self, your wounded ego, your fears, your shame is still in control, it will do anything to stop you from accessing that higher frequency. That fatigue is not random. It's spiritual interference. A less obvious but deeply potent sign is intellectual overdrive. You get stuck in planning, researching, theorizing, and analyzing instead of doing. You convince yourself that you're being productive, but really you are avoiding the heart. Creativity doesn't live in the mind, it lives in the body. in the soul and presence. When you overthink, you disconnect from the flow. And when you're disconnected from flow, you're no longer in creator mode. You're in survival mode, dressed up as preparation. We must ask ourselves, what part of me is afraid to be powerful? Because that fear is the root of all creative blockage. It's easy to say we want to create, but creation means responsibility. It means standing in truth. It means being seen and perhaps not liked. It means no longer hiding behind potential. And that terrifies the part of us that still sees safety in smallness. But staying small is not safe. It's spiritual suffocation. There are also energetic signs. You may feel scattered, ungrounded, or anxious when you try to start a project. This is often because your energy field is clogged with unresolved emotional debris. Your inner demons live in those blockages, feeding off of your fear, your self-doubt, your past failures. They keep looping old stories, old identities, old disappointments, just enough to drain your energy, just enough to keep you distracted. Until you clear those energies, you'll keep hitting invisible walls. And then there's the fear of completion. Yes, even finishing can be terrifying. Because once you finish, you have to release. You have to let the world see what you've made. And then you risk judgment, rejection, or worse, indifference. So your inner demons convince you to tweak endlessly, to edit forever, to keep your creation in limbo. But limbo is not life. Limbo is a half-death. And your soul did not come here to be half alive. So how do we begin to dismantle these blocks? First, we must bring them into consciousness. You cannot heal what you do not name. Sit with your resistance. Ask it, what are you protecting me from? You might be surprised by the answer. Often it's not laziness, but fear of abandonment, not lack of discipline, but fear of failure. When you understand the wound, the demon loses its disguise. Second, reconnect with your body. The body is not the enemy of creation, it's the portal. When your nervous system is dysregulated, your creativity cannot flow. Practice grounding, breathwork, movement, dance, stillness, whatever brings you back into presence. Creator mode is not a mental state, it is an energetic alignment. And your body is the tuning fork. Third, create rituals around your creativity. Sacred space invites sacred expression. Light a candle. Say a prayer. Call in your guides. Make it holy. Because it is. When you treat your creative practice as a spiritual ceremony, your inner demons begin to retreat. They cannot survive in sacred space. They feed on chaos, not clarity. On fear, not reverence. Fourth, allow yourself to create badly. Yes, badly. Permission to be messy is the first step toward mastery. Your first draft is not supposed to be beautiful, it's supposed to be honest. Let the divine speak through your imperfection. Let your soul breathe without censorship, because every masterpiece began as a mess. And every creator began as someone who was willing to show up, even when it wasn't perfect. Lastly, surround yourself with mirrors of your truth. People, books, places, music, anything that reminds you of who you really are when the noise fades. Because the more you remember your essence, the less power your demons hold. They thrive in forgetfulness. But your remembering is your rebellion. So now I ask you, what masterpiece is waiting behind your resistance? What truth is trying to be born through you, but is being blocked by a wound you have not yet faced? What part of you is still waiting for permission that only you can give? These are not simple questions, but they are the ones that will set you free. You were not created to consume endlessly, to scroll past your own soul, to drown in distraction while your spirit withers. You were created to bring something into the world that only you can bring. That is your sacred duty, your divine invitation. And everything in your life that is not aligned with that calling must be questioned. Your inner demons are not your enemies. They are exiled parts of you, asking for integration. But integration does not mean obedience. It means understanding them, healing them, and then choosing differently. Choosing creation over fear, choosing expression over suppression, choosing truth over comfort. Because every time you choose to create, you are not just making something new. You are making yourself new. You are shifting your frequency. You are stepping closer to your soul's purpose. And no demon, no matter how loud, can stop a soul that has remembered why it came. Part 2. The battle between vision and the void. There is a moment in every creator's life when the vision is clear, but the void feels louder. You can see what you want to make. You can feel it in your bones, vibrating in your chest. It wakes you up at night. It lingers in the background of conversations. It whispers through the silence. But when you sit down to bring it into the world, an invisible force pulls you into stillness, not the sacred kind, but the paralyzing kind. That is when the battle begins, not between you and the world, but between you and the parts of yourself you've never fully faced. This is not resistance as most people understand it. This is existential resistance, the kind that makes your entire body feel heavy, the kind that convinces you that creating is dangerous, that the more you bring your soul into the world, the more vulnerable you become. And that vulnerability to the inner demon is death. Because your demon, your wounded ego, only survives when you stay hidden, when you stay busy but disconnected, productive but not present, loud but not true. One of the most deceptive ways this demon operates is through false busyness. You tell yourself you're too busy to create, too many obligations, too many people to please, too many fires to put out. But beneath that surface is a deeper truth. Being busy is a form of avoidance. It keeps you in motion, but out of alignment. Because if you slowed down, even for a moment, you'd have to hear what your soul is actually saying. And sometimes, what it's saying is terrifying. Have you ever felt that strange emptiness when you finish consuming content? That hollow space inside that no amount of scrolling can fill? That is the void, the place where your unexpressed truth lives, the part of you that is starving not for more information, but for integration. You don't need more input, you need output. You need to release what's been building inside you for years, maybe even lifetimes. Because when we don't express, we implode. The void is not evil, it's the sacred womb of potential. But when left unattended, it turns into a pit of despair, a reminder of everything we haven't yet become. And our inner demons use that void like a weapon. They point to it and say, "This is proof you're failing. Look how far you still have to go." But the truth is, the void only exists because something within you is trying to be born. The darkness is not a punishment. It's a prelude to light. So many of us confuse comfort with safety. But in the spiritual realm, comfort often means stagnation. True safety comes from alignment. And alignment requires risk. It requires stepping into the unknown with nothing but faith. But your inner demons hate the unknown. They want predictability, even if it means suffering. They'd rather you stay in a job you hate, a relationship that drains you, a version of yourself that no longer fits, just to avoid the chaos of transformation. And yet, creator mode is chaos, divine chaos. It's messy, wild, non-linear. It doesn't follow schedules. It doesn't obey logic. It flows through intuition, through feeling, through surrender. And that's terrifying to the part of you that was trained to be in control, that was trained to perform, to please, to follow rules. But creation doesn't come from control. It comes from trust, deep, trembling trust in something bigger than your fear. Let's be honest, what are you really afraid of? That no one will care, that what you make won't be good enough, that people will laugh, criticize, or worse, ignore you? These are valid fears, but they are not truths. They are echoes of old wounds. And as long as you let those fears sit in the driver's seat, your creator mode stays locked behind layers of self-protection. But what if you let the fear be seen without letting it lead? Sometimes the battle is not loud. It's subtle. You feel uninspired, numb, disconnected. You wait for motivation, but it never comes. That's because motivation is a byproduct of alignment, not the cause of it. Waiting to feel ready is another trick of the demon. You don't get ready by waiting. You get ready by beginning, by showing up even when you're afraid. Especially when you're afraid. Have you ever wondered why your best ideas come in the shower, or while walking, or right before sleep? It's because in those moments your mind is relaxed, your defenses are down, the demons are quieted. And in that silence, the divine can speak. Creator mode requires that kind of openness, that kind of surrender. But we've been trained to believe that only hard work counts, that only struggle is worthy. So we force, we push, we grind and kill the joy of creation in the process. The truth is, your inner demons aren't trying to hurt you. They were born to protect you. They formed in moments when you were hurt, shamed, rejected. They said, "Never again," and they built walls around your heart. But now, those walls are prisons. And the same demons that once kept you safe are now keeping you stuck. So ask yourself, what would I create if I wasn't trying to protect myself anymore? One of the most powerful practices is to give your demon a name. Speak to it, write to it, ask it what it's afraid of. You'll realize it's not as powerful as it seems. It's just scared. And when you meet fear with compassion instead of judgment, it begins to soften. It begins to trust you. And in that trust, you reclaim your power. Not by fighting the demon, but by loving it into integration. Another profound tool is embodiment. When your body is frozen, your soul can't move. Dance, breathe, shake, move the energy. Creation is movement. And when you move your body with intention, you release the stagnation held by your inner demons. You open the channel. You allow the divine to enter. Your creator mode is not a skill set. It's a frequency, a state of being. You tap into it when your intention is pure, your heart is open, and your ego is quiet. And the more you practice entering that state, the easier it becomes. But it starts with a decision, a sacred decision to show up again and again, no matter how loud the demons scream. You will fail. You will make things you're not proud of. You will doubt yourself. That's part of the path. But every time you create, you're reclaiming your soul. You're telling the universe, I'm here, I'm willing, I'm listening. And the universe responds. Not always instantly, but always deeply. There will be moments when you feel like giving up, when the void feels too big, when the demons feel too loud. But remember this, the bigger the demon, the closer you are to a breakthrough. Demons don't show up to stop nothing. They show up when something sacred is about to be born. Don't let their presence discourage you. Let it affirm that you're onto something real. So now I ask you, what is the cost of not creating? What part of your soul is shrinking every time you silence your truth? What legacy are you leaving behind if you never let the world see who you really are? These are not abstract questions. They are the foundation of your life. And the answers will determine whether you live fully or just exist. You are not here to be a consumer of other people's dreams. You are here to be a channel of the divine, to birth something that has never existed before. Not because you're special, but because you're willing to feel, willing to fail, willing to be seen. That is the path. That is the way. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it's scary. But it's also holy. It's also liberating. It's also the very reason your soul chose this incarnation. To create, to express, to remember. Part 3. The sacred art of becoming a divine channel. There comes a moment in every creator's journey when you stop trying to make things happen and start allowing something greater to move through you. This is where creator mode transforms into something holy. No longer are you pushing, striving, or proving. You are listening. You are becoming a vessel. But for that to happen, something must first be surrendered: your fear, your false self, your need to control. Because the divine doesn't force its way in. It waits for an invitation. To become a channel, you must clear the static. The noise of your mind, the shame of your past, the voices of your inner critics, these are the clouds that block a light. Your inner demons thrive in that static. They confuse you, distract you, loop you in narratives that are no longer true. And the more you identify with those stories, the less able you are to hear the truth of your soul. That's why creator mode isn't just about making, it's about remembering who you are before the world told you otherwise. You are not just someone who creates things. You are creation itself. You are the living edge of cosmic intelligence expressing itself in real time. But how can that intelligence flow through you if you're still trying to be someone you're not? If you're still managing your image, seeking approval, or waiting for validation? The divine does not move through performance. It moves through presence. And presence begins when the masks come off. So many of us are afraid to be seen because we're still carrying the belief that our truth is too much, too raw, too strange, too broken. But what if the very thing you're hiding is the exact medicine someone else needs? What if your vulnerability is your power? What if your story, in all its messiness, is the path to someone else's liberation? You cannot be a divine channel if you're still trying to sanitize your humanity. Let it be real. To step into this sacred role, you must first cultivate trust, not in outcomes, but in flow. Trust in the intelligence that guides you, even when you don't understand. Trust in your inner knowing, even when it goes against logic. Trust in your timing, even when it doesn't match society's clocks. Creator mode at the highest level is not about content. It's about communion. A deep, intimate relationship with the source of life expressed through you. This is why rituals matter. Sacred space is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Your environment is a mirror of your intention. If your space is chaotic, your mind will be chaotic. If your space is sacred, your energy will respond. Light a candle, burn incense, say a prayer, clean the clutter, not because it's trendy, but because it tells the universe, I am ready to receive. And receiving is the essence of creator mode. One of the most powerful things you can do is speak to your creation before it exists. Call it in, invite it, ask, what do you want to become? You are not the master of it. You are the steward, the midwife, the translator of something ancient and divine. And when you treat your work with that level of reverence, your inner demons begin to dissolve. Because reverence leaves no room for fear. But be warned, this path will change you. You cannot channel divinity and remain small. You cannot speak truth and stay silent in your life. You cannot embody light without confronting your shadows. Creator mode is not a side hobby. It is a spiritual initiation. It demands integrity. It demands alignment. It demands that you become the version of yourself that your soul has always known you to be. And that means facing the parts of you that still resist. The part that says, I'm not worthy. The part that says, what if I fail? The part that says, I don't know how. These parts must be held, not banished, loved, not judged. Because when you love them, they soften. They stop sabotaging. They stop screaming. And in that quiet, something new emerges. Your essence. Have you ever noticed how children create? They don't ask for permission. They don't worry about being good. They just play. They follow joy. They follow curiosity. That is the frequency of divine creation, not forced, not strategic, just pure, unfiltered presence. Your inner child remembers this. And one of the most powerful ways to unlock creator mode is to reconnect with that part of yourself. Dance, paint, sing, write nonsense, build something with no purpose. Play with your spirit the way you once played with your toys. That energy is magnetic. It draws in synchronicity. It opens portals. It reminds you that you are not here to impress, you are here to express. And expression is what heals the world. Let's talk about failure, because it will happen. You will create things that don't land. You will try and fall. You will pour your heart into something that no one sees. But that does not mean you are not in creator mode. In fact, that's when you're deep in it. Because true creation is not about applause. It's about alignment. And every so-called failure is simply calibration. The divine fine-tuning your frequency. You must be willing to keep going, to keep showing up. Not because of external rewards, but because your soul demands it. Creation is not optional for the awakened. It is the pulse of your purpose. It is how you stay connected to the source. And when you stop creating, you start forgetting. Forgetting your power, forgetting your truth, forgetting why you came. But when you create consistently, everything changes. Your intuition sharpens. Your energy rises. Your reality begins to shift. Because creation is a signal to the universe. I am alive. I am ready. I am in service. And the universe responds. Not always how you expect, but always in alignment with your highest path. So now I ask you, what would your life look like if you lived as a divine channel every day? What would you make, say, build, or become if you stopped waiting for permission? What would happen if you trusted that what's moving through you is not random, but sacred? These are not questions for later. They are questions for now. Because now is the only moment that exists. And in this moment you have a choice. To listen to the voice of fear or the voice of truth. To play small or to rise. To consume or to create. The world doesn't need more distraction. It needs more devotion. And your devotion, your full-bodied, soul-rooted, unapologetic devotion is the medicine. You are not here to dim your light for the comfort of others. You are not here to recycle what's already been said. You are here to bring something completely original into this world. And only you know what that is. Only you can hear its call. Only you can say yes.